Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for my MVP power rankings in the NFL. I'm going to give you guys 3 dark horses, and then I'm going to give you my top 10 MVP power rankings. Here's what we need to keep in mind when we look at this. First, I want you to remember these are not who I think is the best. These are not who I think is the worst. These are who I think have the best chances of winning an MVP based off of the narrative surrounding them this season, based off of the talent they have surrounding them, based off of what they do as a player, and based off of the way the NFL views the MVP. So spoiler alert, it's all quarterbacks. The reason it's all quarterbacks is because the most likely player to win the MVP is going to be a quarterback. Like, that's just it. That's just how it's going to be. And so I don't know which quarterback yet, although I think I do. I don't know which quarterback will ascend, but the way that the NFL works is that the best quarterback wins MVP. So once some of these guys don't play very well early in the season, and there might be a receiver or a running back who kind of ascends, then they will make the power rankings. But for now, what we know is that the winner will be a quarterback, so my power rankings is all going to be quarterbacks who are featured in this first video. Starting off with the dark horses, my dark horse number 1 is Matthew Stafford. People have completely forgot about this guy, but he was good. He was the best player in 2021 when you factor in the regular season and the playoffs. Because in the regular season, the only ones better was Mahomes and Rodgers. And then in the playoffs, he was the best. It was the playoffs that year was him, Allen, and Burrow. So he was the best in the playoffs. He was the 3rd best in the regular season. I mean, Matthew Stafford was insane. And he was a legitimate MVP candidate that year. Last year he was injured, didn't have Cooper Kupp. It was a rough season. But I believe Matthew Stafford could surprise a lot of people this year and go right back to being dominant. That's my number 1. Number 2 dark horse is Brock Purdy. Look, he has never lost a regular season game. If the 49ers do what I think they're going to do this year, which is win a lot of games and possibly go to the Super Bowl, and it pains me to say it as a Seahawks fan, but I really think the 49ers are an amazing team right now. So Brock Purdy, if he does that, he can easily be an MVP candidate, especially if he plays the way he did last season. The problem is, I'm not sure if he will. And number 3, my dark horse, it feels weird putting him as a dark horse, but nobody is talking about Josh Allen for MVP. He's number 2 in the Vegas odds. But from the analyst perspective, if you look at the rankings, you watch the videos, the ESPNs, the Fox Sports of the world, they are not even talking at all about Josh Allen as an MVP. So this is my reminder to the world. Josh Allen exists, and he is still a very good player. So let's get into my top 10. Number 10, I have Joe Burrow. Again, okay, am I criminally low on Joe Burrow? Maybe I am. But what do we know? 3 of the past 5 quarterbacks who have won MVP have been black. So automatically, you want to be a running quarterback. And I'm not saying that to bring race into it. Joe Burrow's not mobile. So he's not going to have that aspect of his game. So that makes it all the more difficult for him to win that MVP award. Number 2, he's playing with a much larger contract now, which means he's less valuable to his team. He's playing in a tough division with the Browns, Steelers, Ravens, all very good, so he's not going to probably win as many games as he has in the past. And I struggle to believe that Burrow can win the MVP. I think Burrow's best that he can be is a top 3 to 4 quarterback this year, which is good, right? If he's the 3rd or 4th best quarterback, he's good. But I think that's the best he can be. I don't see any scenario where Joe Burrow winds up being the best quarterback this year, which is why he's at 10. It's possible. I think it's very unlikely. Number 9, I have Aaron Rodgers. This could go either way. Is there a chance that Aaron Rodgers goes completely berserk and wins the MVP? Yes, there is a chance that could happen. We've seen him do it before. Is there a chance that Aaron Rodgers has another terrible season and ends up retiring? Yes, there's also a very high chance of that. He's at number 9 because what I do know is that if Rodgers is a top 3 quarterback this year, he'll win the MVP. That's not the case with Burrow. If Burrow's a top 3 quarterback this year, Burrow would have to be the best quarterback this year and be undoubtedly the best to win the MVP. Rodgers would basically just have to be in the top 3. How do I know? Because 3 out of the 4 times he won the MVP, he wasn't the best quarterback on my quarterback index. So clearly his narratives help him, especially the not throwing interceptions thing. Burrow throws more picks. So Rodgers, maybe the stats aren't always there. He doesn't throw picks. So he's number 9. Number 8, I have Tua Tagovailoa. Now, look, why is he number 8? because when you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle on your team, when you have Mike McDaniels as your head coach, when you were playing in such an electric team as the Miami Dolphins, a team that had a lot of good offense last year, there's all the chance in the world that you can be the statistically best quarterback in the NFL. Also, he does have the narrative because last year was the concussions. If he can stay healthy, put up big numbers, win a lot of games, if he wins the division, which the Dolphins could, I see a scenario where he could be the MVP. I think he would probably have to be a top 2 to 3 quarterback. Again, he would have to be statistically in the top 2 or 3 if he wants to win the MVP. But when you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle as your top targets, you can easily finish top 3 in passing yards, top 3 in touchdowns, and win a lot of games. Number 7, Russell Wilson. Did I overrate him? Maybe I did. Why is he at 7? Because Russell Wilson is now paired with Sean Payton. If the Broncos can do what a lot of people think they can do and turn their entire team around, Russell Wilson's going to get a lot of credit for that. Again, he's got weapons, Jerry Jeudy, Courtland Sutton. Supposedly, he's going to go back to being more of a scrambler type, which is the type that MVP voters like. The MVP voters like guys who can run. We've seen it with Lamar. We saw it with Patrick Mahomes. If Russell Wilson, but here's how he wins it. To win MVP, Russell Wilson, he doesn't have to be number 1 in his division, but he has to beat Mahomes at least once. If he does that, if he puts up a top 2 to 3 statistical season for a quarterback, and if Sean Payton's Broncos are better than they were last year, significantly better, then there is a path for Russ to win the MVP. Again, the narrative would be there if he plays good. Number 6, Deshaun Watson. I really don't know what to say with Deshaun Watson, but what I do know is the last 2 full seasons he's played, he was number 5 and number 4 on my quarterback index. He is a very good player. He has a ton of talent. He has a good head coach. He is playing in a difficult division, so if the Browns have success, it's not against a bunch of easy teams. It's against tough teams and tough competition. I think Deshaun would have to be the best. The problem with Deshaun is he would have to be similar to Joe Burrow because the narrative won't be there for him. For Watson to win the MVP, he would have to be undoubtedly the best quarterback in the league. Is that possible? I truly think it is possible, but it's probably unlikely. So that's why he's at 6. Number 5, I have Dak Prescott. I think Dak is the second best quarterback in the NFC, maybe the third. Well, I ranked Kirk Cousins ahead of him. Kirk Cousins is not anywhere to be seen on my MVP rankings because Kirk isn't going to put up the flashy playmaking abilities that Dak Prescott has. So Dak, because he's on the Cowboys, because he's one of the top quarterbacks in his conference, because every year he puts up humongous passing numbers, he's going to get talked about for the MVP. The question is, can he cut down the interceptions? He would have to win the division to win the MVP, and he would probably and he would have to end up as a top 3 again. If Dak's a top 3 quarterback and he wins the division and the Cowboys have a top seed to the playoffs, there's a good chance he can win the MVP. I think it's possible that happens. I have him at 5. Not the most likely scenario, but you can see that happening, right? I can definitely see a scenario where statistically Dak has the 3rd best numbers behind, let's say, Mahomes and Allen, and then it's Prescott at number 3. But since he's on the Cowboys, best quarterback in the NFC, people don't want to give Mahomes a 3rd straight. They give it to Dak. Okay, there you go. Number 4 of Lamar Jackson. I think maybe 4 is a little high, but again, he was the MVP in 2019. He's done it before. He would probably have to be a top 2 quarterback in the NFL, and he would have to do a lot with his legs, and the Ravens would have to be better than the Bengals. But I think that's very possible. I think he is a much more talented quarterback than most people believe he is. He can throw the ball. He has more weapons than he's ever had, a new offense, a new style of offense. Lamar's at number 4. Number 3, Trevor Lawrence, man. If the Jaguars, I have the Jaguars going 14-3 this year. If they do that, they'll be the number 1 seed. If Trevor Lawrence is a top 2 to 3 quarterback this year, which he definitely could be, I think he can win the MVP. He's shifty. He throws a beautiful football. He's going to put up huge numbers with Calvin Ridley now. I mean, Calvin Ridley changes the game, truly does for the Jaguars. So Trevor Lawrence at number 3. I think there's a very good chance he can surge into the MVP. But number 2 is Jalen Hurts. He outplayed Mahomes for 3/4 of that Super Bowl. He was very, very good. If not for the fumble, that would have been one of the most impressive games ever from a Super Bowl quarterback. He is incredibly good, incredibly talented, best quarterback in his league by, in my opinion, by quite a bit, most talented by a lot. Statistically, you can argue for Dak, you can argue for Kirk Cousins. Talent-wise, there's nobody there. Like, from a pure level of, like, passing talent, rushing talent, of just ability, leadership, everything. Jalen Hurts is the whole package. Because Dak's not the runner that he is. Dak's also less accurate as a thrower. Kirk, obviously not the runner that he is. Kyler Murray is the runner, but can't throw the ball. Matthew Stafford's pretty much immobile and coming off of an injury. I mean, Jalen Hurts is the most complete quarterback in the NFC by a lot. So if he's the best quarterback in the NFC by a lot, as I think he could be, he's going to be right there in the MVP discussion. But number one is Mahomes. Even though he's won it again, he's now won 2. Obviously, voters will still vote for him. But for Mahomes to win the MVP, I think he has to be the best quarterback in the NFL again. But I still think he will be. He's the best right now. He's undisputed the best. He has unseated Tom Brady as the best quarterback in the NFL. So I think right now you have to put him at number 1. You have to put the best player at number 1 on the MVP power rankings. That's exactly what he did. So leave a comment down below. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Who am I too high and who am I too low? And remember, this is not a talent ranking. This is not a who I think is the best ranking. This is if everything lines up perfectly, because we don't know how the season's going to go, but this is if everything lines up perfectly, who can win MVP. I think these are the 10 people that can, and I think that's the order of how likely it is that they do. So, thanks guys for watching. Next time we'll be up for Offensive Rookie of the Year, and that'll be the next video. So leave a like, comment, subscribe down below. Peace out.